So I'm kind of addicted to comedy. Pretty much all my performance stuff has been comedy, although I played a villain every now and then. And all my shows and all my writings tend to be comedy, ridiculous stuff. I like silly. As an example, there's a Monty Python sketch where there's a bit of music, no dialogue at all. And it's the fish dance, where Terry Jones, dressed in army fatigues and a pith helmet, skips up to John Cleese and slaps him with a fish, backwards and forwards several times. And then eventually John Cleese pulls out this enormous fish and whacks Michael Jones, knocks him straight into the canal. Silly, but funny. It was to me, still is. I still can't see that sketch without giggling. So I like humour. So I thought I'd tell you a little joke. It's actually clean, which is unusual for me. So a fella goes into a pub with a giraffe. And he goes up to the bar and he says to the barman, I'll have a pint of beer for myself and a pint of beer for my giraffe. And he gets him 2 pints of beer. The barman looks a bit strange at the giraffe. And he drinks it. And the giraffe drinks the beer straight down. Then he calls the barman over. Barman, I'll have another pint of beer for me, pint of beer for my mate here, and I'll have a couple of Scotch chasers, please. Barman again looks at him a bit strangely, comes over, plonks the beers down, two Scotch chasers, boosh, down with the beer, bang, bang, down with the Scotch. This goes on for most of the evening, and the man and the giraffe are getting very, very drunk. And eventually the barman, he calls time, rings the bell, ding, ding, ding. Last orders, time to go home, ladies and gentlemen, time to go home. And the fella says, yeah, one last one, double Scotch from me, double Scotch from my friend here. Sure enough, the barman gives him a double Scotch. Boosh, drinks it down, bosh, the giraffe drinks it down. By which time, they're pretty drunk. So the barman says, go on, you need to go home now. So the fella, he grabs the giraffe and he staggers towards the door. Towards the door. They get halfway to the door and the giraffe keels over. Flat on the ground, dead drunk, passed out. The fella looks down, keeps going. He gets to the door and he just opens the door and the barman went, oh, whoa, hold on a minute. You can't leave that lion there. And the bloke turns around and says, hey, what's the matter with you? That's not a lion, it's a giraffe. Silly, but funny.
I really love visual humour. When it's performed really well, it is just an absolute crack up. One of my favourite scenes was the party. Peter Sellers in the party. And Peter Sellers plays an Indian actor. And he's not a very good actor. And he accidentally ends up at this party for the director. Anyway, during the party, at one stage, he realises he needs to go to the toilet. He's busting. And he's looking for the toilet everywhere, he can't find it. Eventually, and he's sort of starting to get bow-legged and cross his legs, and just the way that's delivered is just really funny. Finally gets into the toilet, and this is a really wealthy guy's house, and it's like a mansion, basically. So, and he's very, very aware of that. And he goes into the bathroom, and he accidentally splashes a painting above the toilet. So he's, what am I going to do? And he picks up some toilet paper and goes to rub the water off the painting. And the painting smears. He's like, oh no, what am I going to do? And anyway, so on and so forth, keeps going, and it gets worse and worse. And what happens is the toilet ends up overflowing, and it turns into one disaster, turns into another, and it's just a series of hilarious events. And there's not one line spoken. It's all visual, and that is what I really loved about it.
So I have to say I'm a bit of a fan of Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson. And I love the fact that my granddaughters, who are 10 and 8, also really love him. But I know I've got some relatives who think he's just a little bit too slapstick, and their humour is perhaps a bit more advanced than that. But when you really look at it, One scene that comes to mind is when Mr. Bean wants to swim at the beach, and he climbs down the cliff, sort of the steep stairs, and he realises that there's someone else already there, and he's not already in his swimming togs. Sorry, and so he has to change on the beach, and he goes through all this great thing of getting his togs on, you know, up through his trouser legs and all this sort of thing. And then you realise that the guy on the beach is blind. He gets up with his stick and walks off. But it's just, so there's no speaking, and I think, you know, it's not just slapstick, which is what my other relatives think it's a bit too basic for them. But when you really think about it, you know, what he has to go through to do that, and he's made a presumption about this other person, I think there's a lot more things that you can glean from it than just mere slapstick humour. And so, of course, we find him very funny, and so do the grandchildren, and I love laughing at it with them.
Yeah, look, I've always loved humour, and I guess it goes back to when I was a young boy. One of my heroes as a filmmaker was Charlie Chaplin, and I used to love seeing his, and we've talked about slapstick today, but all his slapstick humour. And I love people that laugh, and fortunately, yeah, my wife is a good laugher, and you know, whenever she sees me, she laughs. I think it's maybe the shape of my body or something like that induces humour within her. But I can see that laughter too, because when I look in the mirror now, I break into laughter, which is probably better than crying, isn't it? And the thing about laughter, it's like atomic fission. Like if you laugh, it encourages someone else to laugh, and they laugh, and so on. But I will tell you a joke. I had a mother. Yeah, well, most people have, and yeah, she was very much in my life. In fact, she was there the very day that I was born. My dad wasn't, because he wasn't allowed in the hospital that day. And when he saw me, he said, my mum said, "Look at the beautiful baby we've got here." And but he said, "Oh yeah, but have you seen his nose?" He's always saying things about my nose, like he reckons that it arrives at places several seconds before the rest of me. And he said to me once, "Yeah, I wouldn't mind your nose filled with whiskey." And I said, "Well, Dad, I'd prefer to drink out of a glass, actually." But anyway, yeah, my mum, she was a very genteel person. She had a really good sense of humour, and she told us this joke once. And when she told us this joke, she burst out laughing, and I couldn't stop laughing, and all of us laughed. But I guess I was amazed that she would tell this joke. Anyway, she says to me and to others, family members at the time, well, they're still family members, she said, "How do you catch a polar bear in the North Pole?" I said, "I don't know, Mum, how do you catch a polar bear in the North Pole?" She said, "Well, what you do is you cut a hole in the ice, and you sprinkle honey around the corner, around the circle of the hole, and then a bear comes up, and when he licks the honey, you kick him in the ice hole." So my mum burst out laughing, and we burst out laughing. And when I think of humour in my mum, that joke always comes back to me.